Ready to go?
I think so.
Take number 2.
Yes.
Because 3 hours of sleep is not enough to record a video.
Yeah, not so good.
So, all right. Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. All right. Today's episode should be a little shorter. We're not going to go into the PTSD caregiver dynamic in this one. We're going to kind of breeze through the next 8 years of kind of the highlights or life events, as social media would call it. And then next episode, we will dive into the hard stuff, all the struggles, emotions, processing some of that here with you guys. We left off with a traumatic start to Simon's life. That was November of 2009. Brian had been working as a contractor in April 2010. He was done doing that and decided to start his own business. This was surprising to me and terrifying, this uncertainty, and it was risky. I'm not a risk taker, so that was a big jump for me. It also, had us both working from home, and we had different work habits, routines, and our level of tolerance of interruptions was different, and there were lots of interruptions with a baby and a toddler running around. My work was also getting harder to come by just with contracts and everything else. I was working 20 hours a week, and most of my paycheck was going towards covering medical. So we weren't bringing in much at this point. We had a significant decrease in our income, which brought quite a few changes to our lifestyle. One of the main things that I remember was our grocery shopping. That had to change drastically, and we decided on a price point of $1 a pound for produce and meat. And so things got kind of interesting with cooking. We have a year that we fondly call the year of the sausage, because we were able to buy those tubes of sausage for a pound, and it was $1. And so we got a lot of that year and used that as our main protein. But it was also, for me, kind of a growth period as well. They say necessity is the mother of invention. I didn't invent anything, but I did learn how to adapt recipes or figure out new ways to do things, to use what we had to cook, or making my own laundry detergent, that kind of stuff, to bring costs down. Also learned a lot about preserving, canning, garden produce. The city girl was getting some country education. But the hardest part of all of that was I am a saver by nature, and Brian is more of an investor. He likes to invest in tools, and so he would spend more, and so that caused some conflict in that period of trying to navigate.
Personality differences aside, I was still at war, and it sounds maybe silly, but why save anything when you could, might not be around the next day to enjoy it? And actually remember talking to my therapist one day and had that epiphany of, oh gosh, now I understand why Alysia likes to save money, because you might be alive tomorrow. And it sounds kind of goofy, but it was an actual moment that's changed in my brain. So
yes, it was interesting when you came home and told me of that revelation. I kind of went, oh, okay, that's what we were dealing with.
yeah.
So Brian got his business off and running. We're figuring out new lifestyle. November 2011, baby number 3 is on the way, and decent pregnancy. Didn't have a whole lot of issues. The biggest hardship was we're saving money, so we decided not to run the air conditioner that summer. Just open windows and pray for a breeze. And that was, of course, the last trimester, those 3 months of summer, and so that was a pretty rough summer for me. And of course, we were doing more gardening, just to have our own produce. And so it was a hot summer. But we had a healthy baby girl in August of 2012. And the doc made it in time for this one. So that was great, even though labor and delivery did go really fast.
I was ready, though.
He was ready. We went out the door and got there in time. So we're outnumbered now. 3 kids to 2 adults. Shortly after Nora was born, our oldest started kindergarten. So we had a new routine there, just school and getting her on the bus. May of 2013, I decided I had had enough of the stress of trying to stay billable with contracts. My church had put in an ad for looking for someone, and so I applied. We knew this was going to be a pay cut, but we thought we'd give it a shot. The catch was I'd have to be able to bring my kids because there was no way we were going to be able to afford childcare on the pay they were going to give. And so went in and they did hire me, and I brought my kids to work, and that was a bit of a transition. I had Nora strapped to me. She was 9 months old when I started, and did a lot of work with her in the carrier. And then I had Simon and then Meredith when she wasn't in school, milling around the office or in the nursery nearby. So it was a bit of a transition, but it worked. It still is working, actually.
Turned out to be a real blessing.
It has.
For more than just us.
Yes. Yep. So jump ahead to 2014, and Brian shuts his business down because of new state laws that raised fees and taxes for small businesses, making it hard for him to operate. So we closed things down and have been looking for a job. July, he started a job as an equipment operator and moved on to managing irrigation repair out over at K-State. Not his favorite things necessarily, but he did great work and really excelled there. August 2014, we have baby number 4 on the way. My pregnancies are starting to get harder. I'm getting older. More aches and pains. It's just a little bit more of a struggle. Things went okay though overall. I think I had some nausea and whatever. Probably the worst part of the pregnancy was I ended up with kidney stones on Christmas Eve and ended up in the hospital to figure out what was going on. And luckily it was nothing terrible, but that was unpleasant to say the least. And got gestational diabetes, gained more weight with this pregnancy, but had a healthy baby, May 2015. Welcomed Robin to the world. And we have work and life just continuing. I'm still working at the church and Brian at K-State. Got 2 kids in school, 2 kids with me at work. So we're going to jump ahead a couple years. We're October 2017. And Brian's doing great work. No issues with his work, but he's been having increasing issues with coworkers and managers, just making things more stressful and harder for him to just do his job. And he came home, I think I was making dinner in the kitchen, came home and tells me that he's having suicidal thoughts. And I have no clue what to do with this information. What do you do? And I think I just said, maybe you should call one of those hotlines. And he did. He went outside and sat on the front deck and made the call. And that was the beginning of his mental health journey, the beginning of getting some answers and strategies, therapy, medication, and lots of other stuff.
It was also the first time we were told, we understood, we finally had the answer that, yeah, it was PTSD.
Yes.
And that, it wasn't an immediate change, but that changed our entire trajectory for our life.
Yes. Yeah, it didn't solve everything for sure, but it was turning a corner.
Yeah.
So shortly after that, November 2017, we were expecting baby number 5. And this was a tough pregnancy. I was nauseous through the whole thing. Had gestational diabetes again. And just over these years, because of some of the underlying stuff that we've been dealing with throughout life, I was losing confidence in myself and feeling less and less capable. And so going into labor and delivery, I felt like I couldn't do it. And so that was kind of tough. But we made it through, had a healthy baby girl, August 2018. So at this point, we have 3 kids in school and still 2 at work with me. So it just kept on rolling.
I would summarize those 8 years as us going through a crucible. It was not pleasant. It hurt us individually and as a couple and a family. Like I say, turned a corner when we figured out that it was PTSD and started the long trek up from there. And we're going to go back next video and touch on 5 or 6 or 10 main points of what our difficulties were with what turned out to be PTSD and our relationship and raising a family, and try a little different format too.
It'll be good. The 8 years for me as a summary was just a ongoing picking up of pieces, trying to just keep things rolling and caring for our growing family, doing work, keeping things so that we were paying bills and all that, and supporting Brian as he transitions between jobs. But my confidence, like I said, was slowly diminishing. I was feeling less and less capable, just because of some of our struggles, and getting some answers was a relief, but I still didn't know what to do with that. And at that point, I felt like I was carrying so much that I really didn't do it much with that information other than support Brian in getting to what he needed to start that process.
For therapy and doctor's appointments and stuff.
Right.
So we'll see you guys next time with more details, more reflection on the struggles during that time frame and a different format. Thanks, baby.
You're welcome.